The moment I knew I was being erased wasn't when they moved my parking spot. It wasn't when my name disappeared from the company directory. No, it was at 6:15 a.m. on a Tuesday morning when I walked into my office, same time I'd arrived for 20 years, and found a 27-year-old woman sitting behind my desk, feet up on my leather chair, scrolling through my computer files. She looked up, didn't even blink. "Oh hey," she said, popping her gum. "Didn't anyone tell you? This is the innovation lab now. We're pivoting the space. Ashley Pierce, the CEO's niece. Stanford MBA with 0 real-world experience. 200,000 LinkedIn followers where she posted about disrupting finance. And apparently, my replacement. My name's Richard Sullivan. Rick to most people. I'm 52 years old. Navy veteran, 20 years at this investment firm. We manage $4.2 billion in assets. Or we did, before things went sideways." "Where's my stuff?" I asked. She gestured vaguely toward the door. "Facilities moved it. Basement archive room, I think?" We needed the executive floor space for creative collaboration. I stared at her. She'd already redecorated. My framed certifications, gone. The photo of my unit in Bahrain, gone. My client appreciation plaques, gone. Replaced with motivational posters that said things like "disrupt or die" and an LED sign that blinked hustle mode. "Right," I said. "The basement. Oh, and Rick?" She smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Ron wants to see you at 9. Something about role realignment." Ron, her uncle. Ronald Pierce, our CEO, currently experiencing what I can only describe as a corporate midlife crisis. I didn't argue, just turned and walked to the elevator. Found my stuff 10 minutes later. In the basement archive room, flickering fluorescent lights and concrete floors. My desk items thrown into cardboard boxes. My files stacked haphazardly against a wall. My Navy shadow box, the one with my service ribbons, unit patch, and bronze star, was sitting in the trash bin outside the building, just sitting there on top of pizza boxes and coffee cups, like 20 years of service was yesterday's garbage. I picked it up, dusted it off, carried it back inside. That's when I stopped being angry and started getting precise. Here's what you need to understand about how I got here. Last April, 7 months ago, Ron had a situation. Some compromising photos from a Miami business conference got leaked along with some questionable expense reports. The board panicked. They needed someone clean, someone clients trusted, to hold things steady while Ron's lawyers handled the mess. They made me acting CFO that April. Emergency vote effective immediately. The merger with an overseas asset management firm had just been announced in March. Now it was chaos, and they needed someone to keep the regulators happy. There was paperwork, board memos, official notifications. My title got bumped, my signature authority expanded, and I was listed as primary officer on all regulatory filings with the SEC and FINRA, acting CFO. Temporary, they said, just until things settled down. Then in May, right after my appointment, Ron brought in Ashley. Said we needed to streamline our digital presence and speak to millennial investors. She was supposed to handle marketing and social media. That lasted about 2 weeks. By June, she was sitting in partner meetings. By August, she had a C-suite title that hadn't existed before, Chief Innovation Officer. By October, now, she had my office, and I was in a basement with boxes of compliance files from 1998. Nobody had officially changed my title. Nobody had revoked my acting CFO designation. They just moved me, quietly displaced me like I'd become part of the furniture they didn't want anymore. The basement office was a joke. A folding table, a metal chair, a corner of the archive room that smelled like old paper and failure. My computer monitor sat on a cardboard box because they hadn't even bothered to bring down a proper desk. I set up my laptop, started going through files. 20 years of documentation, all backed up and organized exactly the way the Navy taught me. You learn certain things in the service. One of them is that when someone's trying to push you out, you don't fight back immediately. You observe, you document, you wait for them to make the mistake they don't know they're making. And I knew Ashley would make mistakes. She already was. At 9:00 a.m., I went upstairs to Ron's office. His assistant waved me in without looking up from her phone. Ron was at his desk, typing on his laptop, wearing a hoodie that probably cost $500. He'd started dressing like a tech founder lately, said it made him more approachable. "Rick, hey." He gestured to the chair across from him, didn't look up. "Thanks for being flexible about the office situation." "Flexible," I repeated. "Yeah. Ashley needs space for her innovation initiatives. You understand. And honestly, at this stage in your career, you're more valuable as institutional memory than active leadership. You know, like a consultant role, advisory, institutional memory. That's what you call someone you're trying to make disappear without actually firing them." "What about the acting CFO designation?" I asked. He waved his hand dismissively. "We'll figure that out after the merger closes. Right now, we need energy. Ashley brings energy. You bring stability. Different skill sets. The SEC filings still list me as primary officer. Details, Rick. Legal will clean that up. Don't worry about it." But I was worrying about it, because Ron clearly wasn't. I walked out of his office and went back to my basement corner, sat down at that folding table, opened a new document on my laptop and started a file I titled Timeline and Documentation. First entry, May 2024. Ashley Pierce hired. No securities license. No FINRA registration. No CFO approval. I saved it, backed it up to 3 different drives. Then I got back to work. The kind of work Ron thought didn't matter anymore. The kind of work that keeps a firm from collapsing. Ashley's first major presentation happened 2 weeks after she took my office. She called it an all-hands meeting, mandatory attendance. I sat in the back of the conference room with my coffee watching her set up. She had a MacBook covered in startup stickers, a wireless clicker, and enough confidence to fill a stadium. The lights dimmed. Her presentation appeared on the screen. Dynamic Capital Flux Framework, AI-powered risk assessment for the modern era. I almost choked on my coffee. She clicked to the first slide. A stock photo of a woman in a blazer looking thoughtfully at charts. Very inspiring. "Traditional risk models are dead," Ashley announced, pacing the front of the room. "We've been operating with outdated frameworks that don't account for real-time market dynamics. So I developed something new, something revolutionary." The next slide showed a flowchart. My flowchart. The liquidity crisis protocol I'd built in 2008 when Lehman Brothers collapsed and everyone was panicking. The same system that had saved our clients millions. She'd taken my 47-page operational manual, copied the key diagrams, slapped them into 6 slides with different colors, and added buzzwords like predictive analytics and machine learning integration. "This framework," she continued, "uses generational intuition combined with algorithmic forecasting to predict market volatility before it happens." Generational intuition. That's what she called 20 years of experience and pattern recognition. One of the partners, George Halstead, leaned forward. "This is brilliant. Why didn't we think of this before?" "We did. In 2008, I built it." George knew that. He'd been there, but nobody said anything. They just nodded and took notes while Ashley explained my own system back to me with worse terminology. After the meeting, I went back to my basement corner and added another entry to my documentation file. October 15th, 2024. Ashley Pierce presents Proprietary Risk Model. Actually, RS Liquidity Protocol from 2008, repackaged without attribution or understanding of underlying methodology. I attached screenshots of her presentation next to my original documentation, saved it, backed it up. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece about her 3 days later. "Rising star in investment management brings fresh thinking to traditional firm." I printed it out, added it to my files. Then the really stupid stuff started. Ashley decided we needed to modernize our portfolio strategy with something she called DeFi wealth pools, decentralized finance, cryptocurrency, blockchain assets. She pitched it in a partner meeting. I wasn't invited, but Drew Palmer told me about it afterward. Drew was 28, one of our junior analysts. Smart kid. Economics degree from Michigan, actually understood financial instruments. He'd been with us for 3 years, and I'd mentored him through some complex deals. He found me in the basement that afternoon looking worried. "Rick, she wants to convert client portfolios into crypto assets," he said quietly. "Real portfolios. Real money. She's talking about moving $200 million into DeFi protocols." "Did she run it by legal?" I asked. "She said legal departments are why innovation dies." Her exact words. I closed my laptop. Drew, are you documenting these meetings? Should I be? Yeah, you should be. Just notes. Dates, times, who said what. Keep them somewhere safe. He nodded slowly. Rick, what's happening here? Ashley's building a house of cards, I said, and Ron's too busy trying to be cool to notice. Just keep your head down and document everything. The DeFi pitch didn't go through, but only because one of the partners asked how we'd explain cryptocurrency volatility to our 68-year-old clients. Ashley said we'd educate them on digital ownership paradigms. That's when the partner laughed. Not with her. At her. But Ron backed her up, said we needed to think bigger and embrace disruption. Next came the VR conference room. Ashley convinced Ron to spend $200,000 on a metaverse client engagement space. Said we needed to meet clients in immersive virtual environments because that's where finance was heading. They built it on the 15th floor. Fancy VR headsets, motion sensors, the whole setup. Ashley posted a video tour on LinkedIn, got 50,000 views and 3,000 likes. The conference room sat empty for 3 months. Turns out our clients, mostly in their 60s and 70s, preferred meeting in actual rooms where they could see actual people managing their actual money. But the worst part wasn't the wasted money or the stupid ideas. It was what Ashley started doing in July. About 2 months after she got comfortable in her role, she started signing things. Contracts, transfer authorizations, trading permissions, all with her signature, her title, her authority. I first noticed it when I was reviewing routine compliance reports in August. Saw her signature on a client authorization form. Then another, then a dozen more. By September, she was signing everything that came across her desk. Asset transfers, portfolio rebalancing approvals, even some contracts with outside vendors. I pulled one up on my screen, stared at her signature on the authorization line, right above where it said Authorized Officer. Except she wasn't an authorized officer. Not according to FINRA. Not according to the SEC. Not according to any of the regulatory agencies that actually mattered. I called Brian Kowalski. We'd served together in the Navy back when we were both a lot younger and a lot dumber. Now he was with the SEC, working enforcement. Brian, I said when he picked up. Hypothetical question. I hate when you start conversations like that. If someone's signing trading authorizations without being a registered principal, what happens? Silence on the line. Then, how many authorizations are we talking about? Hypothetically, maybe 30 or 40 documents over 4 months. Rick, that's not hypothetical territory, that's fraud territory. Who's signing? I'll let you know if it becomes non-hypothetical, I said, and hung up. I went back to my documentation file, started a new section. Unauthorized signatures, July to October 2024. Every document Ashley had signed since July. 4 months of unauthorized signatures. It took her 2 months in the role to start feeling confident enough to sign things on her own. Now she was signing everything. I cross-referenced each document against FINRA requirements for authorized principals. 90-day designation process. Series 24 exam. Regulatory approval. Ashley had none of it. 32 separate documents. When I mapped out all the regulatory violations, I counted over 50 distinct problems. Every trade she'd approved, every contract she'd authorized, every client agreement she'd executed. Technically invalid. And we were still in the middle of that $850 million merger. The SEC was still reviewing everything. Every signature, every authorization, every single officer designation had to be perfect. My name was still on all the official paperwork as acting CFO. Primary officer, the one with actual authority. Ashley was signing documents like she owned the place, but legally, she was just an employee with a fancy title and zero authority. I saved everything, backed it up, made sure I had copies in 3 different places. Then I waited, because I knew something Ron and Ashley didn't know, something they'd forgotten in their rush to be innovative and disruptive and modern. The house always wins when you're playing with cards you don't own. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon in late October. I was in my basement corner reviewing merger compliance documents when my phone buzzed. LinkedIn message from Catherine Barnes. Kat's 68 years old, runs a small oil company in West Texas. Tough as nails, sharp as broken glass. She'd been our client for 15 years, and in all that time, I'd never seen her panic about anything. The message said, "Rick, call me, now." I called. "What the hell is this?" she said instead of hello. "No pleasantries with Kat. What's what? I just got a pitch deck from your new hotshot. Something about tokenized shareholder engagement and blockchain equity participation." 40 pages of word salad that makes zero sense. And at the bottom, there's an authorization to move forward with implementation. Already signed. My stomach dropped. Signed by who? Ashley Pierce, Chief Innovation Officer, says she's authorized to execute strategic portfolio modifications. Rick, is this real? Because if it is, I'm pulling my money today. Send it to me, I said. Right now. The PDF came through 30 seconds later. I opened it on my laptop. It was worse than I thought. Ashley had created an entire proposal to convert Cat's company equity into blockchain-based tokens. Something about creating liquidity events through decentralized ownership frameworks. It would have exposed Cat's company to massive regulatory risk, potential SEC violations, and could have tanked her stock price. And at the bottom, Ashley's signature on a line that said authorized for implementation. She'd signed it like she had authority to restructure a client's entire corporate structure. I stared at that signature for a long time. Cat, I said, give me 24 hours. Don't do anything yet. 24 hours, Rick, then I'm gone. She hung up. I sat there in that basement, fluorescent lights flickering above me, surrounded by boxes of old files, and something shifted. This wasn't about my office anymore. This wasn't about my parking spot or my pride or 20 years of being overlooked. This was about Ashley doing real damage to real people, to clients who trusted us, to a firm that used to mean something. I opened my secure documentation folder. Started going through everything I'd collected over the past 5 months. The April board memo appointing me acting CFO. The SEC filings listing me as primary officer. The FINRA designations showing I was still the authorized principal. Every document Ashley had signed without authority. Every unauthorized trade, every invalid contract. 32 documents, over 50 regulatory violations, all during an active SEC merger review, and now this. A proposal that could destroy a client's company, signed by someone with no legal authority to sign anything. I picked up my phone, called Brian. I need to know something, I said when he answered. If someone's been signing unauthorized documents during an SEC merger review, and those documents create liability for clients, what happens? Rick, we've had this conversation. That's not hypothetical anymore, that's criminal territory. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking you to be ready. Ready for what? For when I light the flare. I hung up and opened a new document. Spent the next 4 hours writing what would become the most precisely worded email I'd ever written. No anger, no accusations, no emotion at all. Just facts, laid out like evidence in a courtroom. Subject, regulatory compliance inquiry. Officer authority documentation. Immediate review. Required. I addressed it to Lisa Hoffman, our in-house legal counsel. Harvard Law, 15 years of securities work, the kind of lawyer who breaks out in hives when she sees regulatory violations. The email was 3 paragraphs, short, surgical. Paragraph 1 reminded her that I was appointed acting CFO in April, that the appointment was never formally revoked, and that I remained listed as primary officer on all SEC and FINRA filings. Paragraph 2 noted that during the current merger review, all officer designations must be accurate, and that all signatures must come from properly authorized principals. Paragraph 3 requested clarification on the current status of officer designations, specifically regarding any additional authorized principals who may have been added since April. Then I attached everything. The April board memo, the SEC Form ADV showing my designation, the FINRA registration showing no other authorized principals, and then one by one every document Ashley had signed. 32 documents, each one time-stamped, each one cross-referenced against the regulatory requirements she hadn't met. At the bottom I added one line. Please advise on current compliance status regarding unauthorized signatures during active SEC review period. I saved it as a draft. Didn't send it yet. It was 11 o'clock p.m. I was still in my basement office, but I wasn't tired. I felt the way I used to feel in the Navy, right before a mission. Calm, focused, ready. I went home, fed my cat, made a sandwich I didn't eat. Then I went to my garage workshop. I'd been building a bookshelf for the past 3 months. Red oak, dovetail joints, the kind of project that requires patience and precision. The kind of thing where you can't rush or force it. You just have to trust the process and let the work be what it is. I spent 2 hours in that garage sanding and fitting joints, making sure everything was square and true, not thinking about Ashley or Ron or the firm, just focusing on the work in front of me. Around 1 a.m., I cleaned up my tools, turned off the lights, and went inside. Set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. The email was going to send at 4:47 a.m., early enough to hit inboxes before market open. Early enough that Lisa would see it before anyone could tell her not to look. I added 2 more recipients to the draft, the SEC liaison assigned to our merger review and the compliance officer for the overseas firm trying to acquire us. 3 people, 3 inboxes, 3 people who would have no choice but to act once they saw what was in those attachments. I read the email one more time, checked every attachment, made sure every link worked and every document was properly labeled. No mistakes, no gaps, no room for anyone to claim this was unclear or ambiguous or misunderstood. Just facts, just documentation, just the truth about what had been happening for 5 months while everyone was too impressed with Ashley's LinkedIn followers to notice she was breaking federal law. I hovered my mouse over the Schedule Send button, thought about my shadow box in the trash, about my office becoming an innovation lab, about 20 years of loyalty repaid with a basement corner and a folding table. Thought about Kat Barnes and her company, nearly destroyed by a proposal from someone who thought blockchain was a magic solution to problems she didn't understand. Thought about Drew and the other junior analysts who were learning that competence didn't matter if you weren't cool enough or young enough or connected enough. I clicked the button, 4:47 a.m., scheduled, locked in. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months because the flare was lit and there was no putting it out. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. I was already awake, made coffee, fed the cat, checked my phone. The email had sent at 4:47 a.m. 3 delivery confirmations. Lisa Hoffman had opened it at 5:53 a.m. The SEC liaison opened it at 6:02 a.m. The merger compliance officer opened it at 6:18 a.m. I put my phone down and drank my coffee. By 8:30 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Text from Drew. Something's happening. Executive floor is chaos. Partners in emergency meeting. I didn't respond. Just finished my coffee and went to my garage. The bookshelf was almost done. I spent an hour working on the final panel, getting the joints fitted perfectly. My phone kept buzzing. I ignored it. Around 10 a.m., Brian called. "Rick, what did you do?" "Sent some documentation to legal." "Why?" "There's a FINRA inquiry." "Emergency review. They've frozen all trading activity pending verification of authorized principals. The whole firm is locked down." I adjusted a clamp on the bookshelf. "That's interesting." "Interesting?" "Rick, nobody can execute trades. The merger's on hold. Partners are losing their minds." "What exactly did you send?" "Just the facts, Brian. Just the facts." He was quiet for a moment. "Your documentation was clean?" "Immaculate." "Good, because they're going to need it to be. This is going to get ugly." He hung up. I went back to my bookshelf, applied wood glue to the joints, clamped everything square and true, set it aside to dry. My phone rang again. Ron's assistant. I let it go to voicemail. Then Lisa Hoffman called. I answered that one. "Rick, I need you to come in. Now. I'm working from home today." "Rick, this isn't optional. We have a serious legal situation and I need you here in 30 minutes. "What kind of situation?" "The kind where the SEC is asking why we have unauthorized principals signing documents during a merger review. The kind where FINRA wants to know who's been executing trades without proper registration. That kind of situation." "Sounds serious," I said. "Rick." Her voice was sharp. "Did you know about this?" "About what?" "About Ashley signing documents without authority. I knew she'd been signing things. Didn't seem like my place to say anything. I'm just institutional memory, remember?" Advisory role. Silence on the line. Then, "Get here. Now." I drove to the office. Took my time. Arrived around 11 a.m. The executive floor looked like a disaster zone. Partners on phones, voices raised, lawyers moving between offices with stacks of papers. Ron's door was closed, but I could hear shouting from inside. Drew found me in the hallway. "Rick, they've been looking for you all morning. Lisa's been in Ron's office since 8 a.m. The merger firm sent a team of lawyers. It's bad." "How bad?" Kat Barnes pulled her account. So did Howard Lancaster and two other major clients. That's $1.2 billion walking out the door. And the merger firm is talking about terminating the deal. I nodded. Where's Ashley? Haven't seen her since yesterday. Lisa's office door opened. She saw me and pointed. Rick, in here, now. I followed her into her office. She closed the door, turned to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Lisa Hoffman looked scared. How long have you known? She asked. About what specifically? Don't play games? Ashley's been signing documents for 4 months without proper authorization. During an active SEC review, you had to have known. I noticed some irregularities, started documenting them in August. August. You've known since August and didn't say anything? I'm not in legal, not in compliance. I'm in a basement archive room, remember? Institutional memory. I figured the people being paid to catch these things would catch these things. She stared at me. The SEC wants a full audit. FINRA is opening an investigation. The merger firm is pulling out. Do you understand what you've done? I sent documentation to the appropriate parties about a compliance issue. That's what you're supposed to do with compliance issues. You destroyed this firm. No, I said quietly. Ashley destroyed this firm. Ron let her. I just documented it. Lisa sat down at her desk, put her head in her hands. She's finished. You know that, right? FINRA's going to ban her, probably fine her personally. And Ron, she looked up. Ron's going to have to resign. The board won't have a choice. What about the clients? What about them? The ones Ashley nearly destroyed with her blockchain schemes and her DeFi pools and her tokenized equity proposals. What about them? Lisa didn't answer. I walked out of her office, took the elevator down to the basement, grabbed my personal items from the archive room, my laptop, my files, my shadow box, left everything else. On my way out, I passed the innovation lab, Ashley's office. The door was open. The room was empty. Her laptop was gone. The LED hustle mode sign was dark. Drew caught up with me in the parking lot. Rick, where are you going? Home. I'm done here. What about your job? What job? I've been working in a basement for 5 months with no actual authority and no actual role. I'm pretty sure that job doesn't exist anymore. He looked panicked. What should I do? Document everything. Keep your head down. Start looking for other opportunities. Will you give me a reference? I stopped, looked at him. Yeah, I will. You're good at what you do, Drew. Don't let this place make you forget that. I drove home, spent the rest of the day in my garage, finishing the bookshelf. My phone rang 6 more times. Ron's assistant twice, Lisa once, 2 partners I barely knew. I didn't answer any of them. At 4:30 p.m., the Wall Street Journal published a breaking news alert. Investment firm merger collapses amid regulatory concerns. The article mentioned unexpected governance conflicts and lack of operational clarity. Translation: they'd almost bought a house with a cracked foundation and termites in the walls. Over the next 2 weeks, the story came out in pieces. Ashley had her access revoked the same day I sent the email. Security walked her out around 2 p.m. while I was in Lisa's office. Ron announced his retirement 10 days later. Pursuing other interests, the press release said. Translation: forced out before the lawsuit started. FINRA opened a formal investigation. Ashley got hit with a 2-year ban from the securities industry and a $75,000 personal fine. The board made her return her $340,000 signing bonus. I heard through the grapevine she was working at a car dealership in Scottsdale. Her LinkedIn was still up, but she'd deleted all the posts, all the disruption talk, all the innovation selfies. Just gone. 3 firms called me within a week, all wanting to know if I was available. The third call was from a private equity firm I'd worked with years ago. They offered me Chief Risk Officer, $480,000 base plus equity, about 40% more than I'd been making as Senior Director before the whole acting CFO mess. And this wasn't temporary. This was permanent. I took the job. Drew put in his notice the same day and came with me. Said he wanted to learn from someone who actually knew how to do the work. The industry started calling me the regulator after word got around. I didn't encourage it, but I didn't stop it either. 3 months after I started the new job, the Wall Street Journal ran a follow-up piece. The CFO who exposed an $850 million fraud. They called Ashley's mess fraud. I never used that word, but technically signing documents without authority during an SEC review? Yeah, that's fraud adjacent. On a Saturday morning in February, I'm in my garage workshop putting the final coat of oil on that bookshelf I built. It's solid, square, built to last. My phone rings. Brian, Rick, I've been meaning to tell you. Your documentation on that case? Immaculate. You should have been a lawyer. I run my hand along the smooth oak. Nah, I just build things that don't fall apart. Well, whatever you built there, it worked. Whole firm collapsed in 48 hours. It was already collapsing, Brian. I just documented it. I hang up and step back to look at the bookshelf. It'll hold a lot of weight. Last for decades if you take care of it. On the wall above my workbench is my Navy shadow box, the one I found in the trash that morning. I cleaned it up, had it remounted, hung it where I can see it while I work. There's a phrase engraved at the bottom, non sibi sed patriae, not for self, but for country. It's about service, about loyalty to something bigger than yourself. I wasn't trying to destroy Ashley or Ron or the firm. I was just protecting what I'd helped build. 20 years of work, thousands of clients who trusted us, a system that actually functioned when people did their jobs right. They wanted to replace all that with buzzwords and TikTok videos and blockchain schemes. I just reminded them what the foundation was actually built on. I pour a glass of scotch, Macallan 25, the good stuff. Hold it up to the light. Don't drink it yet. Just look at it. 20 years I gave that place. They threw me in a basement with flickering lights and called me institutional memory, legacy clutter, outdated thinking. Now I'm the regulator, making more money, building better systems, teaching the next generation how to do it right. I take a sip. Tastes like victory.